gives a weird impression like there's a platform or something.
I know.
Until you
I
realize.
was focusing on that and not you.
And then you realize, oh, that's what it is.
Okay, so we are officially starting day 2 of the retreat. Thank you. Good morning to everyone. We have the same schedule today as we had yesterday, so teachings from 10 to 1 and then a 2-hour break, and then teachings again from 3 to 5. I'm not sure what else I need to announce. I think that's it for today.
Thank you. So we will start this morning's session. What better way to start than to do some of the practice that we started to acquaint ourselves with yesterday. So we're going to start with the loving kindness, cultivating loving kindness, cultivating goodwill, cultivating friendliness, this state of mind, this particular quality. So I'm going to do a guided meditation for the next 10-15 minutes. So to start, just sit comfortably. Put yourself in a comfortable position. If in the course of the 15 minutes you find that however you're seated is not comfortable, because this is not necessarily a meditation to cultivate single-minded, attention, then less of a concern to remain unmoving. Go ahead and move, even if necessary. You change your mind at minute 7 or 8. You want the chair rather than the floor, or the floor rather than the chair. As long as you are not tripping over chairs or cushions, getting to where you need to get to, that's fine to do. But generally, basically, allow yourself to be in a comfortable position. Slowly let your body and mind settle. So think of it in those terms. It's letting your body, both body and mind, settle. Letting body and mind settling into their own places, as I like to phrase it. In that there has to be a certain trust that both body and mind, being part of nature, has naturally their own places that they can find if we can kind of get out of the way and just let both body and mind return to their own natures. So think of it as that, as a preliminary to the metta or the love and kindness meditation. So just a few moments of letting both body and mind settle into their own places and be at ease, and just remain holding your awareness in that space of ease and comfort. Just a reminder that Kyopa Jiten Sungun, founder of Drigong Kagyu, gave a very easy way for us to identify what this quality of metta, what this quality of loving kindness looks like, how it feels, by pointing us to a scene, to experience, to this experience that we commonly encounter. He says that this quality of metta is the feeling that spontaneously arises when we observe or we see a child playing happily. So he's not pointing to the experience of the child. He's pointing to the spontaneous experience or feeling that we have when we watch a child or children playing. Or he says more literally, think of how a mother's spontaneous feeling of love and care that arises when she sees her child safe, secure, and happy and playing. Note that Kyopa Jiten Sungun did not say when the child is under threat or when the child is crying, but rather the warm, the open feeling, the feeling of ease that the mother has when she sees that her child is now safe, secure, and playing happily. And that wish that the child will continue to experience that warm feeling that just arises. So for us, whether we are a parent or not, we can all think of or try to remember that same feeling that arises for us when we just observe a group of little kids playing happily and knowing that they're safe and secure, and wishing for them to continue to play happily in a safe and secure environment. Or watching puppies play, or kittens, and that spontaneous warm feeling. So this is said to be the wish for happiness and the causes of happiness to continue. So this is the feeling, this is the quality that you want to cultivate in this meditation. So bring to mind a past experience, and then allow a past experience of this kind, and then allow that feeling to begin to surface. before we can radiate this goodwill, this wish for happiness to others, we ourselves need to open ourselves to and recognize this kindness, this goodwill that we have been receiving all our lives. Without any judgment of whether we have been doing this well or not, simply now, at your own pace, begin to allow the presence of people in your life, whether known to you or even not known to you, whether close to you or distant from you, still present today or having passed on. Allow those memories whereby you can easily recognize moments of kindness that has been shown to you. Occasions where metta has been extended to you. Allow all of this now to slowly turn up and see them gathering in the space in front of you. This can include pets that we've had growing up, friends, teachers, spiritual teachers, and even spiritual teachers from many, many centuries back that have inspired us. And also consider how all around the world, many moments of many people who are praying and wishing in their own way for the well-being and the goodness of the world. Think of those as being our benefactors as well, and also have them be present here, radiating metta to us. Just taking those moments, if past memories are strong of those moments, take those moments, make them present now, and imagine them to be stable in this context, radiating metta to you. And with open hearts, absorb and accept all this metta. Breathing in with your nostrils, the metta that has been radiated to you. Breathing in even with every single pore on your body. Absorbing all this metta. Because truly, without all this metta that has been shown us, that has been radiated to us since we were born, and even before we were born, we would not be here today. It is not possible to be alive today. Perhaps a memory of a chance encounter from last week where you recognize someone wish you wellness, wish you with kindness for your happiness. Just your happiness even just at that very moment. That you enjoy the drink that they have prepared for you. That you were satisfied with the service that they provided you. Or perhaps a memory of being consoled by a friend many years ago when you were feeling down. Or a memory of coming home from a very difficult day to be greeted by your dog that was happy to see you and could tell that you're stressed and coming over to just sit with you. That too is metta. These individuals that you have brought into your presence, there's no need for you to think of them or to remember them as perfect. In fact, far from that. All you need to do is to recognize those moments whereby their metta for you was radiated without any obstacle, without any conditions. So that even sometimes people that you have the most difficult relationship with, perhaps there's a moment that you remember and recognize that they wish for your well-being unconditionally, even if it is for 3 seconds. Accept that unconditional metta that was 3 seconds. Breathe that in. And feel the warmth of that unconditional metta, even if it was only for 3 seconds. But once we accept it, it becomes timeless within our own being. Just as if we absorb others' anger or resentment, it too remains longer than those moments of anger that might have been directed at us for a brief moment. So here we skillfully choose to only remember and recall moments of metta that has been shown to us. Because to be enveloped in and to bask in this cool and healing and reassuring and warm light of metta is a much better state of mind. It's a much better state of being to be in than the alternatives. Then at your own pace, when you are ready, when you feel that you are at ease and completely suffused with metta, then think of 2 or 3 or 4 of those individuals, whether human or 4-legged friends, or even divine beings that are important in the spiritual life. Think of them as standing up from sitting in front of you, slowly walking towards you, coming around to your back, and then with their hands placed on your shoulder, or their paws. From their hearts, metta radiate through their hands, into your body, into your heart, and from your heart, unimaginable rays of metta radiate out to all beings everywhere. And then more and more of those individuals that have appeared in front of you begin to get up, walk towards you, and go behind and put their hands on the shoulders of the first 3 or 4, and so on and so forth, until you have all your sources of metta now behind you, with hands joined to shoulders, through hands to shoulders, hands to shoulders, and all the metta flowing and channeling into you and out of your heart. Infinite rays of metta radiate to all beings everywhere without exception. To loving beings, to hateful beings, to beings known and unknown, far and near, without conditions, without expectations, with no strings whatsoever attached. Allow all this metta, channel all this metta, and let that radiate from your heart. Think of this metta as igniting the experience of metta in the beings that you are radiating this metta to. You're not making them feel kindness. radiating to them, and because innately they recognize what metta is, then it triggers, it opens up their own memories of metta. And metta becomes present, and then they start radiating metta. Without hurry, without haste, cultivate this. With ease, with gentleness, softness. And then at your own pace, when you're ready, let go of all notions of those who are radiating metta and those who are receiving metta. Let go of all reference points of who is giving and who is receiving, and recognize that at all times, in all places, we are all both recipients and radiators of metta. And just relax into that state. Be at ease. Be comfortable. Be happy, content. a little bit longer than 10-15 minutes, I suppose. Any observations to share? Perhaps someone wants to tell Meg how to sit better? No, not that kind of observations. Just kidding. Observations about what came up for you. Oh yes, I've been observing the room. I don't think she's smiling enough.
I had a sense during the meditation that the metta was like unlimited. It was like there's no, it was just endless.
Yes, no limit that quality of, even if the, I mean really think of like when I say, you know, recall, right? Past instances where you have been the recipient of metta. Think of those really, I mean, in a more technical way, that all you're doing is you're getting triggers. You're triggering something else. It's not that. So that really you should focus less on. So don't get into the narrative of, don't get caught in the narrative of, oh, grandma, and then start, oh, grandma was so nice and so great. But then, oh, then some other mixed memory of grandma comes in, and you know, it's like, no, it's like you're in a way, you're just treating, I mean, in a way, I mean, you don't want to make it like that, but in a way, it's sort of like, it's not even about them. It's what those can trigger in you. So towards the end is when we are getting to the wisdom part, that actually is not coming from outside, and in a sense it's not even inside. It's not something that we own or don't own. It's a presence, and that's Buddha. That's like in the Mahayana tradition we talk about, you know, the Buddha qualities that are always present. So one definition of blessings is that it's these Buddha qualities that are constantly pouring forth. So in the Tibetan Nyingma tradition, the primordial Buddha is called Kuntu Zampo. Kuntu Zampo means the all good. So the all good, basic goodness, as Trungpa Rinpoche coins it, you know, the basic goodness that is primordially and always good. The good that is always there. And one expression of that good is what we call metta. So this is practicing metta, or one of the four boundless mind from a Mahayana perspective of the all good. So those are just ways of triggering. Once it has done the job of triggering, it's almost like, okay, you can go now. I mean, I don't mean so literally. As in, you don't want to get too much into that, then it will trigger other things that you're not training right now. Now, you want all those to trigger that metta to become, for us to become, to recognize the all-pervasiveness and the unlimited quality of metta. So in a way, this is not a practice of gratitude. There's a place for that. There's a time for that. But this is not about, you know, bringing every person that has been kind to you and you're like, thank you, you know, expressing your gratitude. That's something else. This is using these memories of the past, of instances where we know a momentary metta has been shown to us, extended to us. Yes.
At the when I was living in Austin, I was talking about that yesterday. It was years ago when I went. It was at the Unity Church,
Mm-hmm.
and when it's somebody's birthday, and it was when a lot of people went to Unity, and when it was somebody's birthday, everybody stood up and clapped, real loud, real loud, and for a long time. And I thought, I want somebody to do that for me. And that's what it felt like this morning. Everybody was clapping for me, saying, "We're so glad you're alive." Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I had that experience of the narrative kicking in and then me sort of turning it off.
Yes. Yeah.
No, that's
Yeah.
not.
No. Later.
Yeah.
No? Or maybe later.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you say no, they're quite stubborn. Like, you know, I have a right to be settling this score with you, right? So later is a little bit gentler, like yeah, later. We'll talk about that later. Yes. You want some attention, but later. Yes.
My experience in this meditation was like getting plugged into a web that circled everything. Just being part of this movement of energy.
Right.
That becomes
Right.
its own writing.
Right.
Present.
Right. Yeah, so it's kind of plugging into that web. It's another way of like, you know, saying Kuntu Zangpo, the all good.
And all pervasive.
Yeah, all pervasive, all universal good. The universal goodness. Yes.
I became kind of acutely aware of, okay, so when you kind of go beyond your people and even all the neutral people that you don't really have any emotional feelings about,
Right.
but then you, and it wasn't terribly difficult to kind of conceptualize all.
Yes.
But I had to know that I was skipping over the people that cruel people, people who were very not doing well in the world, and extending that heartfelt goodwill towards.
Yes.
I felt that emotional kind of barrier to that projection.
Yes.
So conceptually, the large thing was, yeah, that's no problem.
Right.
To do that.
Right.
I want everybody to be happy.
Right.
Beheaders was sort of a
Sure, of course.
emotionally a kind of a border one.
Sure.
And it wasn't, I could have worked with it, but it was pretty distinct.
Right.
That work.
Right.
It's like, chill.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay, you too, come on.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
But,
Yeah. So in this, I'm sure you're aware of the instructions of how bring someone close, and then easier to work with, harder to work with for whatever reasons, slowly. And so, that you're aware that, okay, all sentient beings, minus this one. Say, okay, well, that's what it is now. Because if you bring this one in, the narrative might be too strong, that you can't yet be unconditional with your radiating. So, and then it would even disrupt your own tapping into the source. Right? It might cut it off.
It dims it down for sure.
Right. So then just leave them alone first. And
It didn't feel unworkable.
Right,
It was sort of
right.
like, ooh,
Oh, yeah. It's like,
here's my slur.
right.
Here's my wall.
Yeah.
Yesterday it was different. Today I have like a lot of impatience, like I was like impatient with the practice and doubt, and then I'd go back and then I'd be okay. And I go, okay,
What kind of doubt? Oh, what does that mean? What's that? What's the texture?
Kind of heavy, and I was like, I started having instead of focusing on what we were doing, I was having a battle with myself. Just stay present with what's happening. I go, no, this is stupid.
Oh yeah, of course.
This is working, this is stupid. And I go, no, it's not. So anyway, just internal.
Oh, it's just, of course, it's distractions. And of course, then this is where constantly remembering Buddhist teachings on inconstancy. So even this moment of impatience, you're like, we're supposed to be meditating on loving kindness. We're supposed to be meditating on loving kindness. Love, love. Oh, I hate doing this. Love, love. I hate doing this. This is stupid. Right? So then, it's inconstant, so it's okay. No expectation. It's inconstant. So there it is. Then, recognizing that it's inconstant, then if you can, also remember, not self. I don't have to own this. I don't know what the heck is going on. Yeah? I don't have to own this. That might be a way to kind of, So you give space for the annoyance even. You don't have to exile it and say, bad, bad Aisha. Look, everybody is being so loving. And I think they're stupid. You know? But you don't have to exile that. You're like, oh, right, inconstant. Yesterday I was so inspired. Right now I'm so uninspired. But even sometimes, you know, right before Han said this, I was so inspired, and then he had to say this, which I disagree with. Right? Now, rather than feeding that narrative of why I disagree, or you know, I have good reasons to disagree, or oh no, he's a teacher, I have bad reason to disagree, bad me. Don't. Just like, look, that's inconstancy. That's impermanence, right there. Every moment, everything changes. So this is the wisdom aspect, which we'll talk about, that always also have to be present. Or maybe wisdom is a big word. There's certain words in Buddhist circles are overused. Then we have to find some other words to kind of stop us and go, oh, what are we talking about? Right? So I said, bring some clarity. Bring some a deeper understanding. Even with this like flowing, uninterrupted love and unlimited, and then it's gone. So you can simultaneously in the kind of that eternal moment of the present, feel the unending, unlimited, unconditional, and then in the next moment, I don't know where it's gone. But you don't have to be thrown off by that. You're like, well, that's inconstant. And even that moment of doubt, of annoyance, I bet you it's going to go away. Then in the next moment, oh, I love all of you, all of you. Group hug! You know? And that too, you know, inconstant. And more importantly, not self. See, let's say you do this, you know, for 4 days in a row. There is tremendous opening. There's tremendous inspiration. Then that has become self. I'm a loving person, right? Your identity now is wrapped up in, I am a person of metta. And Buddha says, when a self is fabricated, then there is a barrier of suffering. then dukkha. Now, until we are Buddhists, we will do that. Don't think you won't. Until you are Buddha, Sid, you will do that. So that when you do that, then the next thing you recognize, look, dukkha. Then, that dukkha that you're experiencing, the light of insight, clarity is shining on it. Then actually it's less burdensome. So these three characteristics, inconstant, not self, dukkha, can always help.
What was the last?
Dukkha. Yeah.
That.
Yeah. Inconstant. Inconstancy, impermanence, not self, not me, not mine. Yes?
Isn't the mind the driver of all that? You know, for me, when I'm sitting and I could be in my loving space, but it's the mind and the thoughts that come in that would distract that.
Mm-hmm. All of it is mind, heart. Yeah. And every moment of mind is changing moments. There's no stable mind or soul or self. In fact, wherever self turns up, it becomes then the bearer of suffering. Then you say, what about happiness? Don't we need something to bear the happiness? Actually, in this system, so this is the leap of faith, it says, no, happiness doesn't need a bearer. Doesn't need a self. So this is the leap of faith, yes. Because happiness is. Then all the other things is necessary to have a bearer, to have a subject, to be doing the experiencing.
Does love need a bearer?
No. Metta, loving hamburger, loving, that's something else. Buddha qualities don't need a bearer. Yeah, in other words. So they say non-referential. That's what the more Buddhist jargon is. Non-referential compassion, non-referential love. Yeah. And then another way to express that, it's the kind of qualities, but the qualities that don't need a bearer. But in our initial kind of encounter with those qualities, because we're so used to everything needing a bearer, a subject, so we will still have a subject present one way or the other. Again, until we're Buddha, that subject will keep turning up, until we finally gain enough confidence to say, the subject is not needed. These Buddha qualities can just be. In fact, every time the subject turns up, it obscures these Buddha qualities. Yeah.
So is part of this also to walk around in the world and look for this love right now? I mean, so, we're cooking it up.
Oh, sure.
But then you get
Yes,
up and
yes. Then, not necessarily in a, you could say as an exercise. So it's a good question. So as an exercise, you could say, for this week, between leaving the house and getting to work, I want to pay attention to what kind of metta I'm not paying attention to. Yeah. And lightly do that.
Likely, but I asked that because I remembered a family wedding I went to, and so much tension around the wedding, right? Divorced parents, blah, blah, blah. But a toddler started dancing, and the whole family got on the dance floor with the toddler.
Right.
And it was like just pure joy and happiness.
Yeah.
And it just made me think about
Sure.
that stuff is around in Buddha nature, is
Right,
in
right.
the air all the time.
Right. Because objectively, right, that's a good example. Objectively, it's not just conflict that's in the room.
Right.
So we make choices. But if we all focus on the conflict, that's all we're going to see. Then you can say, well, you know, you are just like in denial. Right? Oh yeah, there is the in denial, but that's not really paying attention to metta. That's like, let's go get another drink. Kind of in denial, you know?
Right.
So this is not to be in denial, but it's to be full understanding. Yes, there's a lot of conflict, unresolved things in this occasion, but here we have a choice. Do we want to focus on that? Or do we want to focus on the dancing toddler? Right? It's choices that we make. And based on those choices, we increase suffering or we decrease suffering. Then until the time comes where it's post-wedding and, you know, therapy sessions are being scheduled, then that's the appropriate time to focus on the work at hand.
Yeah.
But we let things kind of bleed into each other where they don't belong, you know. So as well, I want to, maybe you noted this, I'm always like a sort of footnoting and say, I'm not saying that there aren't things, difficult things that we should never think about or deal with. But there's a time and space for that. It's how we let all these things kind of bleed into each other. And also like misapplying the Dharma, thinking, you know, on all occasions. Because we hear, right? You have to apply Dharma in all occasions. Yes, if you know how to. If you don't know how to, it can be, you know, just kind of bypassing and or even using the Dharma to kind of harm each other. So Gambopa says, one of the lineage masters, 10th, 11th century, and he says, you know, if you know how to practice the Dharma will liberate, will free you. If you don't know how to practice the Dharma, then practicing the Dharma can lead you to the lower realms. Yeah, this is not like, you know, trying to scare you into behaving. Sometimes, you know, religious types are like that. This is really pointing to the Dharma itself, if misapplied. Even the Dharma can backfire if you misapply it. Now, sort of the distraction that we talked about, the narrative that creeps in, you know, because you're introducing. So maybe, see, the choice in the past to say think of a mother and a child, is that in simpler times, less complicated. So I said, Jidin Singwan says that, but then in degenerate times, that could become too much. Then he said, bring something more neutral, a friend with no expectations. You know, then these days we can think of it as, you know, a pet, a puppy, a companion, a four-legged companion, no complication. Yeah, and even though, yes, it's you know, well, they don't talk back to you and therefore, but okay, again, this is not the time to think about that, because you want that experience, that memory to trigger, right? So anyway, so it also, the instructions also say that this metta meditation, you do want to combine it with like stability. And so why tranquility or calm abiding or focused attention is also another muscle we need to train. So we need to train that too. So now, okay, I'm going to do shamatha meditation now. Because it trains you to be focused and not to be derailed by random thoughts, narratives that come in. So that then combine your shamatha and your metta, then it becomes really potent. It becomes uninterrupted. It becomes really potent. And so in the instructions of, again, Kyoba Jidin Sunggun, he says that, in fact, this meditation on love, this meditation on metta, he says, truly, when people say blessings, when people say consecrating like Buddha images, like especially in the tradition, again, sometimes we think, oh, it's only the Tibetans. Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, everything has very detailed rituals of consecrating sacred images. Except that perhaps when Theravada got transported to the West, I said, things got dropped off the ocean. And then people think, oh, Theravada doesn't have things like that, It's just these other people full of it, or Zen doesn't have it. No, it just, things got dropped off. And I would say, I would offer that why Tibetans are not letting, extra baggage drop off while flying over here is because, think about it, refugee and the loss of their culture made them acutely aware of the importance of not dropping anything. I'm not saying that that's definitely good. It also presents a problem, I think, on this end, on the receiving end. We think that we have to start speaking with Tibetan accent. I know people like that.
Yeah.
Like native Southerners having this strange Tibetan English. What? It's really weird, but it happens, right? But anyway, I got distracted. So these rituals of like consecrating Buddha images, stupas, and everything. So Gyoba Jidinsamga says, he says, actually, at the heart of all these rituals with all the complications is like what you put inside, how you fill the statues, and there's very precise instructions and all of that. He says, actually, behind all of that, the real thing that consecrates a statue successfully is your loving kindness. It's the person who is doing the consecration. And he says, if you really, really want to, like bless it, to have it serve as a potent kind of, you could say, a node, right, for the blessings to come through for others. Just direct your metta strongly onto that object. Put the image in front of you and just radiate metta. And in his instructions, he even says, like, if you are, say, consecrating this statue, and so then you, through prayers, through ritual, he says all the prayers or ritual is to get you to focus your metta, your loving kindness, to bring it all powerfully here, and then you shoot it, you transfer it onto that statue. But he says, if your focus is not stable, in the last moment, you might look over to the refrigerator. Well, there are no refrigerators in his time, but let's update this. You might look over to the refrigerator and wham, you have consecrated the refrigerator. And he says, so then, somehow, mysteriously, every time people come to EBS, they go to the refrigerator and open it, and like, then they're like, I don't know, this statue, don't do anything for me. I need a drink now. Go to the refrigerator. Well, that's because, whoever did the consecration, wham, it went to the refrigerator. And so the instructions also say, like you need this stability of mind, you also need to cultivate. And so then, this is where, we talk about how certain individuals have the power to heal and to bless. Is because the power of their concentration is so stable, but that itself, not yet. And their loving kindness is so powerful. So they just say to you, it'll be all right. And the blessing. Whereas me saying, you'll be all right, you're like, yeah, maybe, I don't know. There is neither the weight of the focus, nor the heart. And it's not as magical or mysterious, right? I mean, it's also in day to day, you can tell someone who really means it and is present for you, saying to you, everything will be all right. That blessing has come. What is that blessing? It's that metta. Yes. And then someone like the Dalai Lama saying, everything will be all right. Wow. It's that weight plus that loving kindness. Then you have been consecrated. You have been blessed. So in this ritual of consecration, usually it involves also sprinkling like flowers or rice onto the statue. So they say, put that in front of you and really radiate metta, and then there's some chants like the interdependence mantra, Om Yadama Hetu Bhava Hetu Deka. But really at that time you should, bring metta into the flowers, into the rice, and then scatter onto the statue. Then now, it becomes a powerful source of metta. So we are consecrating ourselves when we practice that. Calm abiding and loving kindness. In fact, if we can do that, we're already in a very good place. We don't need to do a lot of other things. Yeah, that could be your main practice, Calm abiding and metta. Calm abiding and metta. Alternate. Maybe half the session, calm abiding, followed by half the session, metta. There's a practice group. One thought, I know in this situation, there are many of you with a strong, perhaps past life connection with Tibetan traditions. But part of the nature of the Tibetan traditions too is very fragmented. It's very fragmented, not for a bad reason, but because Tibet are mountains and valleys, Not like Arkansas, flatlands. There's mountains and valleys. So when you have mountains and valleys, people are doing their own thing, The Tibetan saying, for every mountain there's a valley, for every valley there's its own village, for every village there's its own, gompa, for every gompa there's its own lama, for every lama there's its own dharma. So everybody has their own thing, So it's harder to kind of like come together to even like do a practice. Be like, well, that's not, I don't know. But one way perhaps is just based on the broader kind of Tibetan Buddhist understanding that you all have from all your individual traditions, but you can gather together and do calm abiding and metta from the perspective of the Mahayana, Tibetan Mahayana tradition. Then individually you do your own lineage practices at home. One thought, of how you all can come together as belonging to the same kind of Tibetan Buddhist family, but do this. Yes.
The thought that came to me is that you're singing the same song.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where it's from, it's the same Four Noble Truths. And,
Yes.
Everything about
Yes.
the Buddha taught.
Right.
And plus it started in India, so you still maybe have some of that
Mhm.
culture as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just different tunes, different pitch. But you can come together and do this. And that's good. Yeah, so these instructions, he gave, Kyuba Jinizumi gave these instructions about the power of metta. He says, and he says like, if an individual has both combined the kind of the strength, the stability of calm abiding, tranquility, meditation and metta, then in that sense the rituals are not needed. Simply by them gazing at an image, a sacred image, it's been consecrated. Simply by them gazing at someone, that person is blessed. But it's not a distracted gaze. Definitely not a neurotic gaze.
Darshan.
But with weight to it. So let's take a break for about 10 minutes. 11:30-ish Central Time. And then we'll start again. So you stop and then you publish.